Holy wow, that came out of nowhere, but the Rangers just traded for Pavel Dorofeyev, and they extended him for how much?
You're Locked on the New York Rangers, your daily podcast on the New York Rangers. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Welcome back, Blue Shirts fans, to episode number 1578 of the Locked On New York Rangers podcast. I'm your host, John Chick. We are live for the second time this evening because the Rangers have done a lot since the last time we talked a couple of hours ago. They obviously traded for Pavel Dorofeyev at number 5 overall. They drafted somebody who was a personal favorite of mine. That would, of course, be defenseman Albert Schmitz. In today's episode, this live episode here tonight, we're going to focus on Dorofeyev. As far as Albert Schmitz goes, that's going to be the main focus of our next episode. That'll be the entirety of our next episode. For right now, as it pertains to Schmitz, I'll just say that I really like the pick. You guys know the everydayers that I've been really high on him for a while. Though I will say, Vigo Bjork and certainly Reed, the two of them being there, that was very, very tempting. But I'm gonna stand by, what I said about Schmitz, that I think this guy's a big time defenseman, and like I said, we'll break that down more in the next episode. But for this episode, it's going to be pretty much all locked in on Pavel Dorofeyev. We're going to get to his massive contract extension and why I think, even though it was pricey, the price was right. And whatever risk there is there with the contract extension, the reward outweighs the risk. Also, going to take a look at Dorofeyev, how he fits in with this Ranger team, who might his line mates be on opening night for this upcoming season, et cetera, et cetera. But we begin with just the news itself, the fact that Pavel Dorofeyev just completely out of nowhere. I mean, I guess never say never. And, maybe his name had come up a couple of times, but I did not see this coming. I did not see Pavel Dorofeyev being a New York Ranger on draft night, but I'm glad that it obviously came to fruition. And as far as the trade terms, if you missed it, the Rangers give up the number 26 overall pick in this year's draft. They give up the number 92 pick in this year's draft. That is a third rounder. And they also give up a 2028 first round pick in this trade, but that pick is top 10 protected, which is nice to hear. We'll have some more thoughts very shortly on what the Rangers gave up to bring in Dorofeyev. But again, I love this move. My first reaction when I saw it, you're checking your phone and your laptop and everything, and you got the TV on and you're trying to figure out everything that's going on in NHL Draft land, and you see this and you're like, oh my God, like we're getting Dorofeyev. But the bottom line, if you are a rebuilding team or a retooling team or whatever the Rangers would like to call themselves, this is exactly the kind of move that you should be making. This is exactly the type of player that you should be targeting. He checks just about every box as far as what the Rangers are looking for and what a team in the Rangers position should be trying to accomplish. To begin with, he's very young. He turns 26 in October. That one's pretty self-explanatory. Like, I mean, I know some people are a little bit worried about the contract and whatnot. And like I said, we'll get to that in a little bit. But it's not like the Rangers just sold their future down the river for like a 35-year-old, right, who's on the back nine of his career. No, this is somebody that's 25, going to be 26 in October. So you've got that obviously in your favor. If you want the Rangers to get younger, they just picked up a heck of a young player here in Dorofeyev. Something else that I think is probably even more important, they just picked up a bona fide sniper. This kid has an absolutely devastating shot, led Vegas in goals in the regular season this past year, added another 12 markers in the playoffs as well. So that's great to see. And as Ranger fans, we've been starved for somebody like this. Even when the Rangers were, good. Remember that? It wasn't really that long ago. But even when that was the case, I mean, who was like the true sniper on the team? There's guys that can shoot, no doubt. But when you think of Dorofeyev, that's the biggest thing, among other things, that he brings to the table is that devastating shot and the ability to put the puck in the net, plain and simple. So we got a bona fide sniper on this roster, which is fun, and it's something that the Rangers have needed for quite some time, certainly these past couple of seasons. He's not a burner, but he's a good enough skater. He's certainly not a liability in that department. It's fine. I mean, I know, there's Ranger fans out there that want this team to put together a roster with some faster players and some better skaters. I mean, again, he's not like a speed demon out there, Dorofeyev, but he's a good enough skater that it's not going to, I think, detract from, what he's going to be able to do for the Rangers. The other thing that I really like, and granted, this is only one playoff run really that we're talking about here, but it looks like he's a playoff performer. Now, this past season, the one that just concluded, obviously Vegas and Dorofeyev, they went to the Stanley Cup final. The two playoff runs before that, he had just 1 goal and 1 assist in 9 games. So not great. But this past season, in this Vegas playoff run all the way to the Stanley Cup final, 12 goals, 4 assists for a total of 16 points in 22 games. So obviously he stepped it up in the playoffs this past run. And, if the Rangers are able to get back, we hope for more of the same. What I appreciate more than anything, though, and the reason that I'm so high on Dorofeyev is the very simple fact that this is a young player who gets better and better and better with every passing season. He has now played in parts of 5 seasons with Vegas. They drafted him in the 3rd round, number 79 overall, back in 2019. Again, parts of 5 seasons. We're not going to look at his first season because he only played 2 games. So, I mean, whatever. You can throw that out the window. Year 2, though, 9 points in 18 games. Obviously, still not a regular. Year 3, he's up to 13 goals, 11 assists for 24 points in 47 games. Year 4, this is where he started to take a big step forward. 35 goals and 17 assists for 52 points in 82 games, a shooting percentage that season of 13.4. And then year 5, again, the season that just concluded, a career high 37 goals, again, led Vegas, a career high 27 assists, obviously a career high of 64 points, a career best shooting percentage of 16.1. I mean, this kid can absolutely snipe. And like I said, he's just getting better and better with every passing season. And that's something that I think is very encouraging. And the fact that he's not turning 26 until October, I mean, his best days could be ahead of him. I think the Rangers are probably banking on that being the case. But what I really like here is he's already established himself a very, very safe floor. I mean, we're talking about somebody who in the last 2 seasons has averaged 36 goals. Even if he's not quite at that level, I mean, you got to figure he's good for 30. That's big time hockey. I mean, the Rangers, they need more people that can put the puck in the net, plain and simple. So that's awesome. And he's also got what I think is a very high ceiling because, again, he just continues to get better and better and better with every passing season. So impressive player. Really happy the Rangers got him. Really happy that they didn't have to give up anything too crazy. I mean, there were a couple of first rounds involved in it, so we are going to discuss that in a minute here. I know some people are a little bit worried about what the Rangers gave up. I know some people are a little bit worried about the contract extension. I'm going to do my best to alleviate those concerns. I'm not saying there's no risk whatsoever, but to me, this is a risk worth taking, and it's a situation where the reward, at least in my very humble estimation, far outweighs the risk. So we'll get to all that good stuff, evaluating his contract, his new contract with the Rangers, and what the Rangers gave up in order to bring him to Broadway. We will get to that in just a second. All right, we just want to take a minute to let everybody know that today's episode of Locked On New York Rangers is brought to you by 5 Hour Energy. If you've got a sweet tooth, you know how tough it is to find that perfect treat without all the sugar. That's why the Fruity Rainbow 5 Hour Energy Shot brings that nostalgic flavor back in a whole new way. Fruity Rainbow 5 Hour Energy Shots treat your taste buds to an explosion of fruity flavor with a tasty caffeine kick. It is a quick and easy way to satisfy that sweet craving while keeping things simple and on the go. It is a zero sugar treat that is sweet tooth approved. It's incredibly convenient. It's just a small portable shot that you can grab whenever you need a little pick-me-up. It's a great go-to whenever you want something sweet without going completely overboard. Get candy-flavored chaos with Fruity Rainbow 5 Hour Energy Shots, available online at 5hourenergy.com or at Amazon. And today's episode of Locked On New York Rangers is also brought to you by Gametime. There are more live events than ever that are worth seeing right now. Games, concerts, comedy shows, festivals. The hard part usually isn't deciding what you want to attend. It's actually getting the tickets. Between long wait times, confusing checkout processes, and surprise fees, buying tickets can sometimes feel harder than it should. That's why so many fans are turning to Gametime. The app is built to make buying tickets simple with upfront pricing, seat views before you buy, and exclusive savings opportunities that help you get to the events you want without all the hassle. Honestly, the best feature for me is the one that allows you to see your seats before you buy the tickets. You won't find a fairer deal than that. You get to see what you're going to be looking at the game, the concert, whatever it might be. Awesome feature on Gametime. Take the guesswork out of buying tickets to every type of event with Gametime. Download the Gametime app, create an account, and use code LOCKEDON for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. Again, create an account and redeem code LOCKEDON for $20 off. Download the Gametime app today. All right, let's go ahead and keep everything rolling here on Locked On New York Rangers. Big shout out to the everydayers. As always, thank you guys so much for supporting this podcast through thick and thin. And thanks to those of you that are tuning in live here tonight. Good stuff all around. And for the everydayers, get your daily Ranger fix completely ad-free by joining the Everydayer Club today. Start your 7-day free trial right now and get closer to your team without the interruptions. Click the link in the show notes or go to lockedonnyrangers.supercast.com to claim your free trial. And for the everydayers, the next episode, it's going to be the Albert Schmitz show. Like I said, two major things happening here tonight. A big-time blockbuster trade and the Rangers picking Schmitz with the 5th overall pick. Only thought it was fair, excuse me, to spread that out. I don't know if I can do 2 live episodes in one night. My voice might be going, but we'll power through this. So I want to talk about a couple of aspects surrounding the acquisition of Dorofeyev. To begin with, the return package. And again, to recap here, the Rangers gave up 3 draft picks to make this a reality, to bring Dorofeyev to the New York Rangers. The first of those assets was the number 26 overall pick in tonight's draft. I'm not too worried about this because when you think about the Rangers' track record, when it comes to developing their homegrown prospects, it is shaky at best. And that's probably even being a little bit generous, if we're being completely honest here. So, and by the way, part of the reason why the Rangers struggle when it comes to developing their prospects, it's not just the development in and of itself. Sometimes they just pick the wrong player. You know, we've seen examples of that too. So ask yourself this question. What are the chances that the Rangers would have made the correct pick at number 26 overall and brought in a guy that was really going to be a difference maker, and then also developed him properly and put him in position to succeed, and then that player would have ended up being a better player than Pavel Dorofeyev? Probably not very good. And again, I can understand apprehension if you're giving up all these draft picks for somebody that's well into his 30s, but that's not the case here. We're picking up somebody that will be 26 for this upcoming season, for the entirety of this upcoming season. So, yep, I mean, I'm not too worried about the number 26 pick. It is what it is. You got to give up something if you want to get something. They also gave up a 3rd-round pick in this year's draft, number 92 overall. This is the 5th to last pick of the 3rd round, so we're getting very late into the 3rd round here. And the Rangers coming into this year's draft had 4 3rd-round picks. This is the 4th of those 4 3rd-round picks. The Rangers will still be picking, I mean, barring trades, we'll see what happens. But the Rangers, as of now, still have in the 3rd round. Well, first of all, in the 2nd round, they still have the number 64 pick. Then in the 3rd round, they pick at number 67, at 77, and 81. So I'm fine with giving away number 92. You know, it's not, I mean, I'm not going to like completely downplay the importance of draft picks, but I mean, to bring in Pavel Dorofeyev, yeah, I'll give away the number 92 pick in the draft, especially when you know that the Rangers have 3 other draft picks in the 3rd round, and that was the 4th of the 4 3rd-round draft picks. And then the other one, and this is where maybe people think it's going a little bit overboard, but 2028, a 1st-round pick that they will give to Vegas, that pick is top 10 protected. So I'm not really too worried about this either. I mean, again, to me, this is the going rate to acquire a player like this. And 2028, I mean, it's a couple of seasons from now. The Rangers might trade away other draft picks. They might acquire other draft picks. There's so much that can happen in 2 seasons of hockey. So, you know, as of now, you know, they're down a 1st-round pick in 2028. But to me, it's worth it. To me, it's worth it to make this happen. And then there's the new contract. And I know some people were a little bit concerned about this as well. And for the full, like, over-encompassing, like storyline here, Dorofeyev was a restricted free agent with arbitration rights. And it's funny because right after the Rangers struck this trade for Dorofeyev, there were a couple of different reporters tweeting out that, the Rangers were confident that they could come to an agreement with Dorofeyev on a contract extension, fairly easily. Okay, great. I didn't know it was going to be happening like 5 minutes from then, but that's awesome. What the extension ends up being is for 7 years at $11 million. And I know some people are worried about this. So we'll take it one at a time here. We'll look at the length of the contract first. Again, he's 25 right now. So he'll turn 26 in the season. So 26, 27, 28, 29, 30, 31, 32. So he'll be 32 or turning 32 in the final season of his contract. We're not signing somebody to his age 39 or 40 or 41 season here. We are signing somebody who will still be in his early 30s when this contract expires. So in terms of the length of that contract, I've got no issues with that whatsoever. I mean, you guys let me know if you're worried about it, but I don't think it's an issue. Now, the price of the contract, this one's a little bit more dicey. I'll give you that. I mean, $11 million per season. It's a lot. But you got to remember a couple of things here. To begin with, we have seen the salary cap rise and rise and rise, and that's a good thing. And these contracts continue to get more expensive. That being the case, I don't think that this is the kind of contract that's really going to handcuff the Rangers. I really don't. What's also nice about this is with the salary cap expanding every single season, increasing, I should say, you have a situation where his contract will take up a smaller percentage of the salary cap for the length of his contract. Because if that salary cap keeps going up year after year, then $11 million is going to be a smaller and smaller and smaller slice of the pie with every single season that goes by. And I'll throw something else at you. We're not there yet, but you know how everybody talks about Vincent Trocheck and how, man, he's on one of the best contracts in the NHL right now. And I would agree with that. Even though I'm certainly open to Vincent Trocheck being traded, we're actually going to talk a little bit more about that a little bit later tonight here. I still look at that contract and I know that it's very cost effective for all the things that Vincent Trocheck does. He is, mostly a steal at that price. But think back to when the Rangers signed him, right? People had issues with that contract. They thought it was too expensive, $5.65 million or whatever it is, somewhere in that ballpark. I mean, I think maybe people had more issues with the fact that it was such a long contract, but there were some fans of the Rangers that were not feeling that right now. And then what happens? Time goes by. And first of all, you see Vincent Trocheck as a heck of a player. So there's that. But time goes by. The salary cap keeps going up. These contracts get richer and richer. And all of a sudden, Vincent Trocheck, it's like, wow, that's kind of a team-friendly contract. And then it becomes a really team-friendly contract. So to bring this all back to Dorofeyev, you could see something similar happen. And that probably sounds crazy right now at $11 million. But you wait. You give it another 3 or 4 years here. And the salary cap keeps going up and up and up, right? And Dorofeyev continues to, improve at the rate that he's been improving with every passing season here. You will get to a point where people look at Dorofeyev's contract and they say, man, what a steal. Because that's what happens. Again, that contract will take up less and less of the salary cap that the Rangers have at their disposal as the years go by. And on top of that, he might become an even better player. So you put that all together, and again, the rapidly rising salary cap, and you've got a chance that this guy ends up being on an absolute steal of a contract. It's going to take some time for people to really look at it that way, but I'm telling you, you give it 3 to 4 years, and we might be there with Dorofeyev and his contract. As far as trade protection is concerned, I was on Puckpedia, and I'm going to go ahead and refresh the page here if I can. I don't have it open. Let me bring that up real quick here. But the bottom line is we don't know as of yet if Dorofeyev has any kind of no trade protection. I mean, it's the Rangers, and this is a guy that's becoming a star player. So you have to imagine there's going to be some kind of no trade clause. I'm hoping it's not the full no move clause for the entire contract. Yeah, it's still not available. So we'll keep an eye on that moving forward. Very curious to see where that lands and how much trade protection he has, if any. And then there's the salary cap. So we got to talk about this too. But the signing, or rather the acquisition of Dorofeyev and then the contract extension that he got, the Rangers are now down for this upcoming season to $14.7 million in projected cap space available. So I think they're fine. I mean, I've been talking about this. I don't think that they're going to go big time game hunting when it comes to the free agents. I mean, Alex Tuck has already been signed, so the top free agent is off the board. I mean, yeah, I just don't know who it would be that would really be breaking the bank that the Rangers would look to bring in free agency. But as far as like the cap space and like, is this manageable or not? There's still a couple of very important questions that need to be answered. First of all, does Vincent Trocheck get traded? If he does, that frees up some cap space, not just for this year, but for seasons going forward. As we know, that could still go either way. Another big question, does Braden Schneider get an extension? And if he does, how much would that extension be? Because if the Rangers trade him, then he doesn't get a new deal. If he gets an extension, then that would obviously eat into the $14.7 million that the Rangers have currently at their disposal. But to me, this seems very manageable. I don't think they have any kind of like serious handcuffs this season. And going forward, you'll probably have even more cap space because, again, the salary cap continues to rise. But to bring everything back to Dorofeyev now, the next thing I want to do is talk about his role or his likely role with the New York Rangers this upcoming season. You know, who could his line mates be? We're going to discuss that. A couple of other things as well. And I see the YouTube comment section is kind of rolling right now. So we'll get to some of those as well. We'll do all that good stuff in just a second. All right, we just want to go ahead and thank you guys, as always, for tuning in. And we also have to let everybody know that today's episode of Locked On New York Rangers is brought to you by Hims. ED is way more common than most guys think, and millions of men deal with it at some point. Hims offers a simple, convenient way to take care of your health by connecting you with licensed healthcare providers online and giving you access to personalized treatment options from the comfort at home. No awkward appointments, no pharmacy lines, just a straightforward process designed to make getting care easier. Taking care of yourself should not feel complicated. Hims makes the process private and easy to navigate. It's healthcare built around your schedule and your comfort. A lot of people put things off because they don't know where to start. Hims makes it easier with a straightforward online process and discreet delivery, so getting care feels more comfortable. To get simple online access to personalized, affordable care for ED, hair loss, weight loss, and more, visit hims.com/lockedonnhl. That's hims.com/lockedonnhl for your free online visit. hims.com/lockedonnhl. Prescription required. See website for details and important safety information. Sildenafil is the generic version of Viagra. Viagra is a registered trademark of Viatris Specialty LLC. Hims is not affiliated with or endorsed by Viatris. Okay, we'll go ahead and wrap up today's episode of Locked On New York Rangers by talking a little bit about Dorofeyev and his role on the Rangers this upcoming season. I mean, forgive me for stating the obvious here. He's going to be in the top 6. I think we can pretty much write that in Sharpie. At the end of last season, we had, on a fairly routine basis, both Ty Cartier and Connor Sheary playing in the top 6. I realized options were limited for the Rangers, and I realized that line, the two of them and JT Miller, they kind of clicked a little bit down the stretch, and, but with all that said, I'm going to go out on a limb here and say that most of you would agree with me that Dorofeyev is an upgrade on either one of those players. We'll just leave it at that. As far as like the alignment in the top 6, though, I've been saying all along on here, I want to keep Gabe Perreault, Mika Zibanejad, and Alexis Lafreniere together for next season. I just think the three of them really brought out the best in each other down the stretch this season. They played some excellent hockey the last couple of months. And, it just clicked. And so why mess with it, right? So that would leave you with a top 6 or a second line, rather. I mean, Dorofeyev has to be there. JT Miller is going to be there. We know that. And then probably either Cooley or Cartier. Cartier doesn't really play the right wing. Dorofeyev can play the right wing, although I think he's typically on the left wing, as far as I know. Here's the thing. As much as I don't want to break up Gabe and Mika and Lafreniere, I'm at least open to the idea for a couple of reasons. One of them, when I saw they were picking up Dorofeyev, one of the line combinations, or I guess pairings, whatever you want to call it here, because we're just talking about two players that I thought could be a lot of fun together, are Dorofeyev and Gabe Perreault. Can you imagine some of the setups that Gabe Perreault would get to Pavel Dorofeyev? And I mean, Gabe, we saw how good his passing was this past season. He can fit it through some tight windows. And Dorofeyev, I mean, we know he can shoot lights out. That could be a lot of fun. And so that being the case, that kind of gives me the idea of, well, maybe we do break up, Gabe and Mika and Lafreniere. So I've come up with this. Very tentative. We get the whole offseason to talk about this. But you could go with a top line of Cooley, Mika, and Lafreniere. I like this because it keeps Mika and Lafreniere together. I've always felt like the two of them have some sneaky good chemistry, even though they don't play together all that often. Cooley on the top line, I mean, maybe that's a bridge too far. I know that it seemed like he played a little bit better on the third line last season than when he was in the top six. But, it's at least an option. And then your second line would be, and this is really 1 and 1A because the talent's spread out pretty evenly, but I would consider this the second line. You've got Dorofeyev on the left wing, JT Miller at center, Gabe Perreault at right wing. If you do it this way, then both of these lines have somebody to do the big time forechecking and do a lot of the physical play. JT Miller on one line, Will Cooley on the other. You would also have, a playmaker, a guy who's predominantly a facilitator on each line as well. That would be Gabe Perreault on one line. And I would say Alexis Lafreniere on another line. And then you would have a sniper on each line too. You'd have Mika Zibanejad and Pavel Dorofeyev. So that seems pretty balanced, and it feels like those line combinations could make some sense. Obviously, again, we got a long time to figure everything out. We will see. Then as far as the power play, top power play for Dorofeyev. He's got to be out there. Seemed to play mostly on the right side for Vegas, so leave him there. You can put Mika on the opposite side. Fox is running point. Lafreniere is a net front presence. I like that because, he kind of found a knack for that this past season. Lafreniere would creep in there at the last second and score on a redirection. So you could have him doing that in the power play. And I know some people aren't going to be thrilled about this, but JT Miller as the bumper. I mean, look, he's the captain. He's the veteran. We know he's going to be out there on the top power play unit. It's fine. I'd also like to see what he could do being healthy for this upcoming season. And then the second unit, I mean, Trocheck gets bumped down to the second unit. You've got Cooley there. Gabe Perreault is going to be there. I'd like to see him on the top unit, but I just don't see him unseating any of the people that we just mentioned. I've got Gavrikov as the defenseman. He actually did pretty well in that role for the Rangers last season, despite not playing on the power play a whole lot in his career. And then we need one more. I mean, to give somebody like Ty Cartier a chance, or maybe one of the kids, if Sakura's on the team, maybe you stick him out there, we'll see. And of course, free agency is coming, so we might have to adjust this moving forward. But yeah, I mean, the other thing I want to mention here, now that they've acquired Dorofeyev, is does this set the stage for a true retooling? This feels like a retooling move where the Rangers are trying to put everything back together very quickly. And I think this also cracks the door for Vincent Trocheck to remain on this team. And I've got mixed feelings on that. And I know some of you do as well. To me, the time is now to sell him, to trade him, because it's the most you'll be able to get for him. His value is at its highest right now. But if you're truly doing this, if you're truly going, I don't want to say all in, but if you're truly trying to rebuild this team, retool this team very, very quickly, as it seems like the Rangers are doing by acquiring Dorofeyev and drafting an NHL-ready defenseman in Albert Schmitz, then maybe you keep Trocheck around. Because if you're going to go for it, then go for it. This is what we've talked about here on Locked On Rangers before. If you're going to retool or rebuild, pick a lane and stay in it. The Rangers did two things tonight, two significant things that tell you, or would at least seem to indicate, that they are looking to go the retooling route. And if they are, then maybe hang on a Trocheck. And if the Rangers are bad next year and we get to the trade deadline, then look to trade him at that point. That's certainly at least an option. One other thing I wanted to mention here before we call it, Mason McTavish was traded to the Blues in exchange for the number 15 and number 29 overall picks. We were talking about McTavish on a live episode earlier tonight. He's an intriguing player to me. I'm not giving up 2 first-round picks for him. I'm sorry. There's certainly some untapped upside there when it comes to McTavish. Again, an intriguing player, but to me, that's too high of a price. You guys let me know if you feel differently, but I wouldn't have given up anything like that if I'm the New York Rangers. Figure we could pretty much call it there. Again, my voice is kind of shot, so we're going to rest up for another episode about Albert Schmitz tomorrow. One more thing I want to mention, though. It's kind of fell through the cracks with everything happening here. The Rangers preseason schedule is out. There are 4 games. They all start at 7 p.m. It's 4 games in 5 nights. Monday, September 21st against the Devils. That's the opener. The following night at home against the Islanders. 2 nights later at home against the Devils. the following night at the Islanders. So Ranger hockey is not as far away as we think. I mean, we're down to, less than 3 months before the preseason starts. That is awesome. I mean, I know this team puts us through a lot, but you miss Ranger hockey. Deep down, we all know that we miss Ranger hockey. But we'll call it there. Thank you guys, as always, for tuning into this live edition of Locked On New York Rangers. Make sure to follow Locked On New York Rangers on every social media page you can possibly think of, and I will see you next time.